Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to Afternoon Live. I'm Florence Dalu. Imagine this happened to a Form 1. He was given a bottle of water and asked to collect darkness from outside and bring it back right inside. Another Form 1 was asked to dance kwasa kwasa while singing the national anthem in reverse. In another case, a Form 1 was found decomposing in his desk after he was locked up during the school holidays. Now, these are some of the statistics when it comes to bullying. Bullying is a common occurrence in most schools, regardless of the grade level, socio-economic environment, gender. Bullying can happen to anyone. According to a research conducted in 2007, bullying is highest in boys and miss schools, and the prevalence rate is 67%. Now, with me today to discuss bullying is Miss Naomi Nyarigoti, an educationist. I also have with me Mr. James Mwangi from Mang'u High School. He's the business teacher and deputy head teacher, of course. And Mr. Gashishio Masharia. He's the history teacher,
yes,
theory teacher,
yes,
and guidance and counseling teacher.
Yes.
Welcome to the program. Perhaps the first thing is we need to discuss what is bullying. How can you define it, Miss Now?
Okay, bullying can be defined as any form of mistreatment that the students undergo at school. It can be physically or hidden in some way. For example, isolation, social isolation, beating, all that we can classify it as a bullying.
Okay, Mr. Mwangi, do you have anything to add?
Maybe
what forms of bullying are there in high schools?
maybe, of course, there are physical bullying, and then there is psychological form of bullying, where possibly are kept from the crowds, from the others, possibly because of best known reasons for the aggressors. But bullying, I would also say, we talk about repeated behavior. If something occurs repeatedly, then we call it bullying. Sometimes if it happens once because of one or two reasons that may not be explained, maybe we may not really necessarily qualify it as bullying. But when it's repeated, then we say it's bullying.
Mr. Gashisho, are these the only forms of bullying or the new forms of bullying that we don't know about?
There are others, like because of the advancement in the technology, we have got some that are cyber-related bullying. Like you may find somebody posting something on the internet of a classmate, and maybe this person is not known. So now you find the other student, they'll be laughing at this particular person, and we see now when somebody is in the internet, it is read word all over. So now you find that this one may have a lot of effect on the victim. So we have several. We even have a verbal, where the students may be just making certain comments. It can be maybe to do with their size. It can be maybe to do with where you come from, your background. It can maybe be the tribe which you come from. And this one to some extent affects the student.
Okay.
Yeah.
But how can you tell the difference between I'm just teasing you, we're just playing and having games, to where now we say this is bullying? Where is the difference, Mr. Mwangi?
I think the difference comes in the intentions. Because teasing, it means we must all enjoy the fun. I think bullying can be referred to as joke that has gone overboard, because it is continuous until it becomes irritating. I think that's how I would refer to it.
Ms. Naum, is bullying the same in boys' schools and girls' school? Because when I'm hearing bullying, I'm thinking of so much aggression. I'm thinking of push and shove. And when you think of girls, their kind nature, their tender nature. So is it the same in boys' schools and girls' school? Is the forms of bullying that we experience or that we've heard about equal in both kind of schools?
Well, there is a difference between bullying that happens in school, boys' schools and girls' schools, because we know biologically they're not the same. What affects girls may not affect boys as such. Girls tend to be more sensitive to their self, and it affects them more than the boys. Though research that somebody in the TAU mentioned it carried on 2007 showed that in boys' schools, it's worse than in girls' schools. It's only that the degree differs, but it happens in both schools. But for girls, comments, simple comments about how they look like, the background, where the families they come from, who visits them, in what form they visit them, so it affects them, which may not apply so much to the boys.
Right.
Yeah.
Mr. Gashisho, as a guidance and counseling teacher, have you ever seen a case of bullying that you can tell us from your own experience?
Yes. There was this case of a student who wanted to join rugby. And this student, because of his size, he was very strong, but small body, let me put it that way. And he happens to have been in Form 2. And in this particular school, you find that most of the students who are in the rugby, they happen to be in Form 4 and Form 3. And they happen to be, very big. So now this student, he would join the others during the practice. But now when it came to matches, playing with other schools, he'll be left out. And this student felt that he was better than the others. Until now, the coach, he had to intervene. And truly, this student proved to be better than even the others. So there's a case where a student is being bullied simply because of his size.
Yeah.
So the others feel that this one cannot do much. Yes.
Mr. Mwangi, is bullying the same in boarding schools? And is it the same in day schools, or do we not have bullying in day schools?
I think bullying is there all over. But maybe if I would take you back about bullying, I would say bullying, to me, exists in equal measure in boys' schools as it is in the girls' schools.
Okay.
Why I'm saying this, the only difference is the nature of the bullying. The girls, it's more psychological. For the boys, it's physical. We tend to concentrate on the physical more because we can see the impact physically, but the psychological, we may not be able to quantify. So I would say, I think it is important that for the system is in place, or the systems to be able to look for a mechanism of assessing such kind of data, because psychologically girls are really dented. Boys physically is done, and sometimes they easily get out of it. It's only that for the boys sometimes, but when it's physical, sometimes it can really go overboard, and we have cases to quote what has happened where. Maybe for the bullying, in the day schools and boarding schools, the difference between the day schools is that if there is any bullying, it happens during the day. Most of this day, the child interaction is more with the teacher than among the students, because among the students is only when they have very short breaks. But of course, don't forget, these students, finally, they are going home, and this person did this to me. Or maybe I tried to borrow his teacher to lie to the teacher that I had done an assignment, and he refused. And I say, I don't know which route you'll use on your way home.
I'll wait for
so
your home time.
Will lay you as you go home. Either I beat you up, or I also get my group and we beat you up. In boarding schools, it's a challenge because it's a home. You're there in the morning, you're there the morning after. So essentially what happens is that it becomes more intense. Because for the day schools, you'll go home and you'll share out and possibly have some emotional relief. Boarding schools is different. When do you go home and share out? Is it after 3 months? Is it after 1.5 months when during midterm? What kind of impact will that have done on the child? And more often than not, we share based on how close we are linked. We don't give information to anyone. Some students are shy to share with each other because they fear they are going to be reported. Some even fear reporting to the teachers because they don't know whether action is going to be taken. And then they don't know, after they report, where they're going to go after that.
Right.
The aggressor again.
Miss Naum, do you share the same? Do we still have bullying in day schools, like Mr. Mwangi says, or where do you feel bullying is the most? Boarding school or day school, or is it the same everywhere?
Okay, I tend to agree with him that it's more in the boarding schools because of the time spent in boarding school as opposed to those who go home, and the opportunity these day scholars have in sharing out, even reporting to the parents. But in boarding school, you find it takes long. And before it's reported, maybe to the parents, the child has gone through a lot. That's why in some cases you find a student goes home and says, I'm not going back to that school. So for a parent, sometimes we don't take them serious because, you know, you've taken your child to Alliance and you know that's the best school and that's the place for her to be. But she has those problems that she's going through. So sometimes we don't take time to listen to them because all we know is that that is the best school, but our students are going through a lot. So it's important if we listen to them when they say, I don't like this school, we take time to find out why.
But of course, sometimes they could be saying that just because they want to go to a school where their friends are. But maybe we should look at the signs so that we can be able to tell this is bullying and this is just a tantrum. But before that, we are asking today, has bullying decreased or increased over the years? Has bullying increased or decreased over the years? What do you feel? Share that on 32223. That is 32223, starting with the word Afternoon Live. And of course, if you have any questions or comments as the program goes on, you can be able to send a message and we'll be able to look at it with the guests here in studio. So, as we were talking before, what are some of the signs so that we can be able to tell the difference between this is bullying or this is just a teenager being a teenager? Perhaps you can start here.
Maybe one of the signs. If a student, before he joined, let's say Form 1, or even it could be a transfer case, he had a lot of interest in that particular school. It was his first choice. And luckily he got admitted there. Then after a term, this student comes home and tells you, Mom, Father, I don't want to go back there. You need to ask yourself why. Because it cannot just happen that this student has been there for just a term, a school that he had a lot of passion and a lot of interest in, then all of a sudden he says he doesn't want to go back there. There must be a reason. So take time, talk to the boy.
Or the girl.
Oh, yeah.
Or the girl.
Or the girl.
Yes.
Get to know what is happening. You know? If there is visiting day in his or her school, visit. Try to know, to know how he is faring since he joined the school. Okay. Is he facing some problems? Probably you had given him some certain items, and when he come back home, he is minus those items. Where did they go? Were they stolen? If they were stolen, did he report? Because like an aspect of bullying can be, you know, taking items from now this Form 1, this Form 2, or rather this transfer case, and he may not report. So one of the signs could be that this student, the item that you gave him, he has not brought them back home, and he cannot be able to explain where they went. Yes.
Mr. Mang'u, any other signs that parents should look out for?
I think you should be able to look out for, first of all, just sharp drop in performance. You should be able to look for withdrawal signs. When the child doesn't want to interact with people, when the child's performance has just gone down, possibly that's an indication that the child has a major challenge. And I think it's a big challenge because unless you are able to identify the signs, the child might go to a depression. And when the child is depressed, then very many things are going to go wrong. So you basically know your child. Sometimes you may have a child who is aggressive, he comes home, he's not aggressive. Or you had a child who is docile and submissive, and when he comes home, he's aggressive. He tells you he's trying to vent out because he has been oppressed so much when he was in school. So when he goes home, he becomes very irritable and sensitive. I think that's what I would say.
Ms. Naum, any other signs?
Okay, in addition to that, maybe the way the student relates to the siblings at home, of course, as he said, venting out. And also, sometimes they report in an indirect way, giving some complaint about the school, or a friend who did something, that there's this girl who is my cube-mate at school. She does this and that. And then repeatedly, she'll keep giving incidents, hoping that you will get a clue from there and know that she's undergoing some bullying at school. So sometimes they don't say it directly, but from the stories they may be talking about, they can tell that she's not comfortable at school.
Yeah, Mr. Gashisho, you mentioned cyberbullying.
Yes.
Now, are there signs that we can, because these are the signs you can see.
Yes.
You can see when the child is withdrawing,
Yes.
or are they the same signs for cyberbullying?
I would say basically they are the same. Like if the students were to get information about you, and it is negative information, they'll definitely come, maybe make fun about it, tease you, and the reaction will just be the same, where maybe you become withdrawn. Some even decide to cry. Some they even decide to withdraw completely out of that school, and probably they go to another place where they're not even known. I would say the signs are just the same.
The signs are the same.
Maybe you can also look for a change in self-esteem. When the child was very high self-esteem, and then it's dented, then you might tell there is something wrong that you need to attend to.
Okay. Yeah. But is bullying bad? Because from most of the people, they say it's a form of initiation into high school. You know, Karibu Form 1, you'll do this again. When you're in Form 3, you'll bully someone. So is bullying good? Is it bad? Is it damaging? Can we say that, what do we say? Is bullying good? Is it bad? What do you feel, Ms. Now?
Bullying is bad because research has shown that the victims of bullying get the effects much, much later in their adulthood. That's why, and they also reported that victims of bullying also become bullers, we say. So they tend to revenge. Okay, let's take the case of Form 1s. They undergo that bullying. Maybe all their stuff was stolen, they were told to do A, B, C, D. They'll wait for the Form 1s to come, and they do the same. And for those who have gone through so much of it, they say when they get to adulthood, they become criminals. They say most criminals underwent bullying in school, so or when they were children. So that is another effect of it. And also they say children who tend to bully, also they undergo some bullying back at home, maybe from their parents or their siblings. So they are trying to vent it out. So it's like it will be a circle. You get bullied, you will bully, your children will bully. So that's something that will go on and on. So it should be, I think, discouraged.
Mr. Mang'u, any other effects to bullying that you've had or you've seen as a teacher, as
Maybe
a
I would
deputy
say
head teacher?
bullying is not bad, it's evil.
Wow, okay.
I think bullying dehumanizes. It makes you look at yourself differently, completely. And I think sometimes you might pay in a long, long time. I don't know, but maybe, have you ever seen of a girl brought up amongst aggressive girls? She becomes over-aggressive in some situations. Sometimes she forgets, even when she gets married, she becomes aggressive too. And to some point, maybe marriages break because of a small thing, a small joke that went beyond boundaries. And I think bullying is a monster we must confront and make sure that we correct that situation.
Okay.
It's not to be feared, it's to be dealt with.
All right.
Yeah.
Mr. Gashisho?
Yeah, I actually would want to agree with them, but we also need to ask ourselves. We have been having bullying since my parents used to talk about it.
Yeah, the thing is, if everyone talks about it
Yes.
and everyone laughs about it, you know, this happened to me, ha ha ha, I was locked up, ha ha ha, then how can we say that bullying is a bad thing?
Yes. When I was in school, it was there. And now we are talking about it, and it is still there in our schools as we are talking now. Perhaps we need to ask ourselves, how come then it is still there? But I tend to think that the society, to some extent, is kind of contributing to the same. We kind of seem to be, once we have undergone through bullying, at a certain time, we kind of try to glorify it. You know, when we tried now to recall those experiences that we underwent, we are kind of putting it in a way that it's kind of to the person we are telling, it's kind of we were quite okay undergoing through the same. And when you're talking about it, we're also talking about it here. We have our children, whom we're expecting now to join the Form 1, to join the other secondary schools, and now to them, it's like a bullying is normal, and therefore when it takes place, they don't even bother to report, because after all, their parents have been talking about it. Even the students maybe whom we are going to meet there, they're also going to talk about it. And therefore, it's like it has been socialized into a school system, that it is part of the system, that you have to be welcomed through bullying. Yeah, but basically it is wrong.
Mr.
I think
Mang'u,
maybe
you want to say something?
I think maybe what I would like to say is that I remember scenarios whereby some people say, these are normal things in Form 1. These are normal things in Form 2. But since when did abnormal things become normal? Because what is wrong because of the impact it has. I think it is even worse when we have institutionalized bullying, whereby it's the norm. I mean, everybody has to go through it. Maybe if it is one case, two cases here and there, maybe they can't be dealt. But when it's like the whole school, you know, you're saying you're being promoted maybe to the next class to be a Form 2 or to be
It's a rite of passage.
It's a rite of passage, yeah. I think it's bad.
But what do you feel makes someone be bullied? Because it's interesting to note that not everyone who goes to Form 1 is bullied. But some people say they were bullied. So what do you think makes someone vulnerable enough to be bullied, Ms. Now?
Well, it depends on a number of things. For example, personality, how somebody presents himself or herself. Okay, there are people who are naturally soft. They cannot defend themselves. So sometimes these other students tend to take advantage of that. Also, the social backgrounds of the students, sometimes where they were brought up may be different, will not match maybe the friends or the classmates, and maybe they'll be looking at this student as of a lower class, and that teasing about it will also affect. So maybe the way the students are presented in schools, in different classes, also, I think, brings about that.
Okay. Mr. Gashisho, is there any other thing apart from your personality and where you come from that can make you be bullied?
Maybe I would emphasize on maybe the background, what Madam have said. Because sometimes you may find a student, maybe he come from let me say, a well-up family, and he happens to go to a school where some students, maybe they are challenged, or rather financially challenged. They are missing this, they are missing that. And here comes a student who seems to have everything that he needs. And maybe during visiting day, the parents, they visit him, they bring him all the goodies.
They come in 14 vehicles.
Oh, yes. So that's a student who can easily be a victim of bullying. Because now these students, you know, they have not. They don't want to take advantage of what he has. And now they'll be taking what he has by force. And because maybe he's the only one, he may not even go and report. And therefore, the case now seems to go on, to continue. Until maybe a time when, maybe now he gets initiated to the group, and now they wait for another one now to bully.
Yeah, it's very interesting how it's so different. Someone who's bullied because they don't have, someone who's bullied because they have. But this conversation will continue right after the break. Stay on KBC Channel 1.
High School had its beginnings at Kaba in Machakos district in 1925 under the Holy Ghost Fathers. In 1939, the school was moved to a new site at the Mang'u village on a 22-acre piece of land to become known as Mang'u High School. Mang'u High School is a small community which shapes the character of the boys and improves their potential to lead successful life in the outside world, more so if the academic record is anything to go by. This year it performed very well in the KCSE history paper, and the students had this
I
to say.
choose history because I know it's an interesting subject. It is fun, learning is fun. And also you have quite a lot of choices after you leave high school. You can go, you can practice as a lawyer, you can be a teacher, you can even study political science. And me, personally, I think after high school, I'll pursue law. That's why I chose studying history.
On the other hand, the school has an aviation program which has continued to market the school in the industry and create interest in the learners to pursue related courses once out of school. More so, there is a mathematics contest that is held annually in the second term that continues to attract more schools, and participants have been encouraged by the positive attitude it is generating in students towards the subject. The old students of the school from all three sites have continued to support the school in various ways, and the assistance towards the improvement of the school facilities is greatly appreciated. Indeed, Mang'u has lived by its school's motto, Jishinde Ushinde, which seems to pull people to achieve what they can achieve from the individual basis in order to conquer the world.
ABC Channel 1, Kenya's watching.
Just gave him a yellow card.
Diatta, Senegal back in it. It's 1-1 here, and the goal scorer is a delighted Mamadou Niang. Beautiful delivery from the skipper, Lami Diatta of Olympic Lyon. And the man who had a hand in all three goals for Senegal in that comeback victory against Guinea has done it again.
Well, Senegal were threatening with some of these runs. Mamadou Niang, we're not surprised that he has done that. He's been threatening time and again, and when he came this time, he placed it so well that El Hadri had no chance at all. And there it is, the equalizer for Senegal. Then I can tell you we've got a game on our hands here. The fans are quiet again. You could have heard a pin drop in this stadium because the deathly silence that received that goal is something that you cannot believe. We've got nearly 100,000 spectators here, but not even a single one was up to celebrate.
Another of the Egyptians.
Jesus knows what I need to do. Jesus is there when I ask him to. Jesus will carry me through. I know Jesus knows. I know that my Jesus knows my Jesus, yeah.
ABC Channel 1, Kenya's watching.
Welcome back to Afternoon Live. Now today we're discussing bullying. Most of the Form 1s have just started going to school. From last week, many of them started their high school life, and the fear that they all have is bullying. Now some of the SMSs that we have received here, Tony from Nairobi says, bullying is good for it hardens a student, but it doesn't go physical. What do you think about that?
Well, I would want to agree with him because of the repercussions of bullying. If you look at a situation whereby a student has been bullied and he has tried to leave school, or maybe to look for transfer, then there's no way it can be good. And I believe we should not encourage it.
Okay, right. Let's see. Ken here from Nyeri says bullies are cowards and should be punished severely. I think you share that, Mr. Mwangi?
Yeah, he's right.
He's right.
It's true. They have their own intrinsic challenges, so they vent them on other people. That's basically the problem. Right. Or sometimes we have aggression from home, they transfer that aggression to the rest. That's true.
Okay. Interesting here from Doreen Nakuru. She says, I was bullied and I have never forgiven my teachers for letting that happen to me. Is it true that teachers turn away sometimes to these bullying cases? What do you think about that? Can start there with you.
Yeah, from her report, it's like she was let down by the teachers who were supposed to defend her against this evil. So we tend to set policies, education policies, for example, against bullying, but we don't ensure that that is implemented or how teachers should go about it. So sometimes as teachers, students report cases to us. We don't follow them up. Maybe we rubbish them. We say this is normal. Things that we tend to think they are normal affect the students. For example, that student. So as teachers, I think once a student reports to us a case, however minor it is, we should follow it up and make sure that it's sorted out.
Mr. Mwangi, but why is it that teachers don't follow up on each and every case that is reported to them?
I think it's essentially a human behavior in terms of avoidance. Who wants trouble? Who wants to deal with a bully? Who wants to take a lot of time following up issues? And we are all busy running around about the dollar. I mean, the problem is that sometimes we have failed to take up responsibility. We are not bold enough to confront bullying. The minute we are bold enough, and it's also good to remember that this child is your child. He's away from the parents. It means it's your baby. So you have to protect it. But of course, never forget that even as we talk about protecting the baby, remember, you have another baby who is a bully. So you actually need to bring both on board. They both have a problem. This one, the one who is bullied needs to be empowered. The bully needs to be corrected. So if you don't bring both of them on board, and then you correct from both sides, you still have a problem in your hands. But the challenge is schools. And I would say sometimes school administrators fail to confront this issue. And they want to be at the background and imagine there is no bullying in school. The easier way is to confront it, deal with it, let the child respond. Sometimes you may also find you may not get a lot of support from the parent of the bully, because maybe the parent doesn't see anything wrong. As you have read some SMSs, it's hardening up.
Yeah.
But of course, you also have a problem in some situations with the parents of the bullied. They want to encourage them to take it. But you forget this is a habit, and it's denting or it's causing a lot of damage on the child. That's all I would have to say on that.
Mr. Gashisho, could it be that Doreen here is saying, I was let down by my teachers, meaning maybe the teacher was the bully? Could it be a case?
Yeah, that could be. Well, exactly, I don't know what happened. But what I know is that even as teachers, sometimes we become bullies.
But how? How do you become bullies?
And we ourselves, we may not know it. But our utterances, our actions, and even failure to take action may be interpreted to be part of bullying. Look at a scenario where maybe there's a student who has been given a nickname by a fellow student, and this student is not happy about it. Maybe this student has not even come to you to maybe to tell you, to share with you the challenge that is undergoing, through the use of that particular name. So you just happened to have had it. Maybe it was during they were in the field. You heard the students shouting that particular name. And then now you go to class and you shout the same name. Now you have completely killed the child. So you can now imagine the scenario. The whole class will burst into laughter.
Yeah.
And the children will just be there, not knowing whether to cry, whether to get out, you know, such kind of thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes happens with the pronunciation. We have various challenges. I myself have a problem with the pronunciation of R and L. Sometimes I use it interchangeably. So here is a student, maybe who have come in from a background where maybe such issues, they're not emphasized. He has gone to a particular school where now we feel that these students, they're very, very good, come to pronunciation, come to everything. But this school, or rather this student was from a very humble background, and he goes to a very top school where everything's quite okay, and he has a problem with pronunciation. And you are there, the teacher. So when the students, maybe they burst in laughter, you are part of it. So you are actually making the situation worse. So that could be part of the what? Part of the bullying. And possibly that's why Doreen, maybe she never forgave her teachers. Yeah.
Mr. Mwangi, is it true that when we go to high school, students also tend to give teachers nicknames, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if teachers are aware that students have nicknames for them. Is that also a form of bullying, the students trying to bully the teachers, or is it just harmless fun?
I would like to say that, first of all, is you're given a nickname. I think.
Do you know your nickname?
Me?
Yes.
Yeah, I know it. I got to know it
Okay.
in the course of time, after a number of students, and after it was used severally, you can always link and get to, or you can hear the background, something is being mentioned, finally you add, and then you get, what's your name?
Okay.
But I would say, to me, I wouldn't say it's a form of bullying. I would say the youth somehow develop their own language. Just because even among themselves, they have nicknames for each other. They don't use full names. Although it depends on who is looking at it. To me, it's at their level. They want nicknames. Sometimes they don't even, some people, they don't even give nicknames. Instead, they mention their names in short. I mean, there's nothing to really be offended about, but of course, the students should avoid names that could be irritable, because it will also not be good manners. But I would say for the nickname, I think they have been there, I think, since time immemorial. So there's really nothing to worry about. And I think also, we are the grown-ups. We must know how to deal with the young people without being so offended about trivial things, because we are supposed to be the models in terms of how to deal with emotions. Even if you're irritated with a boy, don't be too excessive.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, no. You are at a certain level of development in terms of emotion, so you should exhibit that maturity even as we deal with a very sensitive issue.
Okay. Another SMS here from Kingori, Nandi Hills. He says, it's a natural way of life, survival for the fittest. So I support it for as long as it's not fatal. It prepares one for the hard world. Wow, this is very tough. It's very tough.
I think he's right in some way. Preparing for the survival, he's right, but that's not the way.
Yeah, that's not
But
the way.
preparing, if that's...
But
Miss Now?
that preparation might be take the negative route.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, as we said, according to research, these are the people who go to engage in criminal activities because of the life that they led when they were young. It can harden them maybe to the positive, but to the negative also.
Okay. I think where we draw the line is when it's called bullying, like you defined, Mr. Mwangi.
Yeah.
When it's bullying, then it's wrong, because bullying is wrong.
Yeah.
Yes. It's games when the two of you are having fun.
Yeah.
Both sides are interested and they're seeing the fun in it.
Yeah.
But once one team is being hard, is being annoying, then that's bullying, as you defined it.
Yeah, I think also, as Mwalimu was saying about the teacher factor, I think whatever you say in class, it's also important to observe the body language of the child in question, whether the child is enjoying the joke. If it's not, no, that's no longer a joke.
Right. Yeah, of course.
So something burning, I need to comment about the bullying of students to the teachers. I think it's there, apart from the nicknames. The cultures that we set in the school, maybe the principals and the teachers in relation to the students. I'm talking from the side of private schools, because that's where I've got so many complaints from, that the rules we set as principals to the teachers, the way they should treat the students. You tell your teachers that if a student has misbehaved, leave that student to me. Come and report to me. So as a teacher is helpless, so the students tend to take advantage of that. They do anything to the teacher and say, go report us to Mr. So-and-so. So it demoralizes the teachers because they have no powers over the students that they are supposed to be teaching. So most of the teachers, that's why we find turnout very, very high in most of these schools. Or if you find your teacher really looking for a transfer, maybe it could be coming from the students. No? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree with her. But the problem falls in a situation whereby we transfer economic versus roles. There's a mix of roles and economics, and also there are school perceptions. The problem with private school in question is because the students are a resource, okay? So they don't know. In fact, when such kind of a thing happens, the teacher goes. The bullies
stays.
remain because the students are giving money. This teacher is drawing a salary. So they better retain the student and get rid of the teacher. But the problem, they forget that in the long run, that school will be brought down, either in fire or something terrible will have happened. That's what they forget, because they look at the money and they forget the values of transfer and what examples they are giving.
So in all this, what do you think are some of the measures a school can have to discourage bullying? Whether it's teacher to teacher, student to teacher, student to student, perhaps we can start with you, Mr. Kashisho.
Okay. We have several measures. Like I would advise that the Form 1s, before now they get they join fully the program of the school, there is the need of orientating them. The schools, they can set a day when they're going to talk to them. Tell them, I mean, the teachers, they can even invite people from outside. They can talk about I mean, they can tell the student what to expect, the various forms of bullying, and once they are bullied, what action to take. So let the students know, if maybe that school has a history of bullying, let these Form 1s know that there is bullying there, but I believe the administration would have taken some measures, but probably maybe there's still some element of it. So let these Form 1s know that it is there, and let them know the action to take.
Okay, Mr. Mwangi, any other measures a school can have to prevent this from happening?
I think the most important thing possibly that can really work and work perfectly is, I think as Molim saying, about empowerment. Give them the information. Let them be able to identify the bullies. When they're able to identify the bullies, identify a way out after they identify the bully. How do they report? How is the report system? You have been some situations whereby you find students meeting a teacher after class. It's a problem. So introduce suggestion boxes. They can be able to communicate. In fact, don't just put it anywhere else. Sometimes just put it next to the chapel. As we had one, but then we had to introduce another one next to the chapel. Because what you need to do is guard against extremes. But to be honest with you, certain levels of bullying will never be able to get rid of them. They are minor, but they will really continue happening. But if you're able to come with mechanisms of communication and you're in flow, even if they are minor, you know, and then you take action, of course you discourage the growth of that behavior. So I think to me I would go for empowerment is possibly the most important tool, to empower the Form 1s. And of course to caution, there would be bullies. And when bullying occurs, action must be taken. It should have been taken yesterday. When action is taken, then you're basically communicating to the bully that there are consequences. You take responsibility, because anything we do, we have to take responsibility.
Of course. Ms. Naum, any other suggestions?
Yeah, on top of that, I think the school should set clear guidelines on the issue of bullying. If they say that this is the consequence of any person who has got bullying, then it should be followed to the latter, because sometimes we set rules, and then when they are broken, we don't follow the set guidelines that we put. So in that case, we do not succeed. So let's put the rules, let's follow them, and let it be treated across the board. Not that this student's case is handled differently, another one is suspended, the other one is retained in school, and yet they committed the same kind of bullying. So we should follow that. And then the teachers, we need to be approachable as well. We need to create an environment that can allow the students to come to us. Sometimes they suffer, but they try to look at who amongst the staff they can approach. They find there's nobody, because we are not welcoming. So we should create that welcoming environment.
Okay, perhaps as we go to wind out, we only have a few minutes left. What should be done to the bully? Just give one suggestion. What do you think should happen to the bully?
Well, I would suggest that let action. This bully, let action be taken against you. If it is to be punished, I would advocate for that. But let also be talked to, so that the reason as to why he is bullying can be known, and he can also be reformed. To me, this is a person who has some challenges, who has got maybe something that he wants to fulfill, but he's doing it in a negative way. So let action be taken against him, but more importantly, he should be talked to so that he can change.
Okay, Mr. Mwangi?
I think when you have a case of bullying, it's always good to find out the genesis of the bullying. It may not be the child's fault. It's through habit training because of interactions. Maybe, for example, he's just joining high school. Maybe he was bullied in primary school. So what happens? He has to make sure that he also bullies somebody. Maybe he comes from a family where there is a lot of violence, and that's the only way to respond to situations. So you must get to know that. But I must say that whatever action we take against the bully, the idea must be correction, not damage. Even if it's to be punished, we must aim at correcting the situation to make him be able to coexist within other people. It is possibly his socialization that he is wrong. It needs to be corrected.
Okay, thank you very much for coming for the show, and thank you for watching. I hope we've been able to answer some of the questions that you have. If you feel bullied, please go report it out. Tell someone about it. If you're a bully, something wrong with you. You need to discuss that with someone. And until next week, goodbye and God bless you.